he daren't eat the prison food. He's back in Wood Hill prison. It's a high security prison. He's there for 18 months for the breach of a civil court order. It's unprecedented to go to prison for the breach of a civil court order. He's been in that prison before, and that's where there was an attempted murder against his life. They've actually put him in the prison in the UK that's got the most Muslim inmates. So he can't eat the food. He relies on packages being brought into him, and they actually cut his food supply off from outside last week as a punishment as well.
Yeah.
Well, he's a political prisoner, and he's actually being tortured.
Yeah. Yes, he is. And, to say with Solzhenitsyn, Marxist or communist regime, I would say a totalitarian regime, you can recognize it by the leniency they show towards criminals and how they criminalize political dissidents. And that's what we're seeing everywhere. And but from their perspective, they have to do it. They have to treat Tommy Robinson the way they do, because it's kind of like, he pretty much said the emperor is naked, right? And we all know what happened once that little kid said, hey, look, the emperor is naked. Then the spell they had all over the people with the gaslighting, the manipulation, it was suddenly, broken. And totalitarianism relies on the fact that, by the way, is the difference between dictatorship and totalitarianism. A dictator, the only thing he's concerned about is staying in power. And yes, he will introduce draconian punishments for whoever speaks out, but he doesn't care what you think about him as long as you don't say it out loud. He couldn't care less. Totalitarianism, on the other hand, they have to infiltrate every single mind of the people. They need to control what they're thinking. So from their perspective, they have to treat Tommy Robinson this way, kind of like, punish one, teach 100. That's kind of what's going on here too. But they cannot no longer afford anyone to speak out against them and to speak up, because their whole agenda will be jeopardized if that, were to catch on with people. So, and that is, but on the other hand, that's the good part about it. They're completely overdoing it in their desperate attempt to hold on to whatever power they thought they had. They will introduce policies that even the smallest child will see right through it, what their real intentions are, right? And once again, we've seen that in COVID. So many people woke up during COVID. And, in speaking in terms of that, it was actually a blessing in disguise, because they completely blew it out proportion. They completely overplayed their hand, and a lot of people woke up. And that's the situation they're in right now. What is really what I find mind-boggling is the length they're actually willing to go to. Like I said, they have no shame anymore, and they're just trying to do everything, whatever they can think of. Take what we're having in Germany right now. You may know that we had elections. We elected a new Bundestag on February 23. And the people voted for a right conservative government. But the Christian Democrats, who came in first, they said from the get-go, they're not going to even speak to us no matter what. So the leader of the party, Friedrich Merz, what an idiot. What he actually let the other parties know is, you can only work with us. So they're bribing him now. And gosh, he is such a weak weasel. He is spineless, right? He is giving in to just about everything they demand from him now, even though they were the majorly losing parties. So he's going to go into coalition with the Social Democrats. Now, check this out. The old Bundestag, the ones that should no longer be in office, has not been elected, got reconvened in the chambers this week, and they want to pass a package, Ukraine aid, all sorts of things, for, wait for it, 900 billion euros. 900 billion euros. And like I said, it was the old Bundestag, even though the new Bundestag will get together next week. But they needed to have the old Bundestag because they need to change the constitution to pass that 900 billion euro package. And the new Bundestag, my party and the left party, we would have a blocking minority for that policy change. So it's just insane. Like I said, they have completely lost it. They are no longer Democrats, and they are not even hiding it anymore. So the people really, really need to get a hang of this and need to take to the streets in serious numbers. Otherwise, I don't know what they will do next.
Christine, I haven't seen that reported anywhere. So that's in the interregnum before the new government is sworn in. A little bit like Trudeau wandered around after he resigned, passing all sorts of things when he had no right to at all constitutionally. So the Germans need to get out on the streets and quickly. Andrew, your reaction to that? Had you heard that?
No, I hadn't. It doesn't surprise me, though. I mean, obviously they can do the math, and they needed to pass that law before the new Parliament took office. But in what I fear, Christian, I'd be fascinated to know what your views is. The establishment, the globalists, and their puppet politicians in Europe, they are desperate for a full-blown war with Russia at any cost. And I think it's to cover up the lies they've told to the people, the crimes they've committed against the people across the world, and also the money they've stolen from the people. And only a war with Russia will do. I mean, we've had the lunacy of Keir Starmer, our socialist prime minister, going out to Ukraine to see Zelensky and pledging him £3 billion a year from the UK taxpayer for the next 100 years. They want a forever war. And the only way they're going to get that is with NATO, European boots on the ground, fighting against Russia. And obviously, President Trump has put a fly in the ointment for them, and they're writing him off as some sort of if you unless you want a full-blown war with Russia, you're a Putin stooge. And we've seen millions of people have lost their lives over this conflict already. And I worry when I see the Danish Prime Minister last week come out on television saying that in Ukraine, in the case of Ukraine now, peace is more dangerous than war.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And if you look back in history, whenever the situation within a country became difficult for the ruler or the king or the government, whatever you want to call it, through the respective times, their go-to was always war. Of course, you pick a fight with someone outside. And the people will then, come back together and will obviously support whatever government they have at that time. Of course, that's what they're ultimately going for. And yeah, you are right. There's a lot they need to cover up because, like as you mentioned earlier, legacy media, people no longer trust legacy media, so that they cannot rely on that anymore. So the gaslighting of the people is no longer working. So yeah, that might be their go-to resolve. Let's have war with Russia, of course.
And of course, that could then lead to martial law, conscription, and a massive crackdown on freedoms. And anyone who's talking about, well, perhaps we shouldn't be at war with Russia, suddenly you'll be arrested. I'm afraid that's the way we're heading very, very quickly, and accused of spreading defeatist propaganda or something. We could slide into that very, very quickly in Europe now.